So in this section, what I want us to look at is what we would call Hollywood lighting. Now, people often confuse Hollywood lighting and butterfly lighting. Butterfly lighting is one of the lights we would use in Hollywood lighting, but Hollywood lighting is this very sort of 1950s, 1960s style. It's very popular at the moment. So how do we create these types of images? So in this image, we've got a subject, we've got the two lights shining in the background, we've got some lens flare coming across. It's very Hollywood, it's very bright and moody at the same time. So how do we get these high contrasts and these different looks? Well, let's have a look at the lighting setup for this one. So as you can see, in this one, we've got 3 lights. That's all we're using. So if you've got 3 whites on a black background, you can actually see this. What I'm going to do for a second, I'm going to turn off the background so you can see the lights. So what we've got here is one light is literally, we're using it in a Rembrandt type style in this instance. So this one isn't, we are not even actually using the butterfly lighting in this one. This is more Rembrandt. So if we go back to the image, you'll see that it's hard to see because we're doing a full face shot, but this is more Rembrandt than beauty. And that's why you mustn't mix up the individual styles with a stylistic type of lighting like Hollywood lighting. Remember, if you haven't already done so and you need some help understanding what Rembrandt lighting is, we do have the photography portrait course which goes through all of this stuff. So that's a pretty straightforward 3 light setup for Hollywood lighting. And let's go and have a look at our next variation. So this is a 3 light, but now what we've done is we've taken our strobes out of the shot. We've lost a bit of drama, we've lost a bit of the excitement, but we've still got a bit of this nice rim on the subject and the nice lighting. So let's have a look and see what we did with the lights. Let me just turn off the background. So what we've done now is we've moved to 2 bare strips, and they're now, as you can see, to the side and to the back. Remember, you've got the PDF for all the angles and the ratios and everything. So we're using them as a nice rim and a little bit of wrap on the side of the face. And we've also now got our spotlight here, but this time we've actually put a little diffuser on the front of it just to ease the harshness of the light a little bit, as you can see there. So we've just placed a little film over the front. This is pretty standard stuff in Hollywood shooting. So it's just going to soften that light a little bit and make it not so harsh. And we've got that focus on the face, and we're up near butterfly and Rembrandt lighting heights. So 45° down, and we're slightly off center on this one. So let's have a look at our next shot now, and we've done a Hollywood 5 light this time to see what happens when we throw a couple of different lights in there. So let's have a look at what we did on this one. I'm just going to switch the background off so we can see all the lights. So what have we got? We've got a couple of lights in the background that are just shining forward and creating the lens flare and the spots in the background. And we've got the 2 strip lights. So that's how we'd create that really dramatic effect. I must admit my favourite is the 3 light setup I showed you at the beginning. So there we go, that's our Hollywood lighting. We've got the flashes going off, the strobes in the background. You know, it's all about the celebrity look. So now what we've got is a Hollywood upper body shot. So let's have a look at this and see what the variation is on this one. So in this instance, we've got a spot on the subject, and we've got 2 spots coming over creating rim. Now you'll notice on this spot, this time, we don't have our colour foil over the top. So if we have a look now, see what that does, it does make the light a little bit harsher. So let's pop back and have a look at that. And what we're seeing now is we've got some really bright highlights on the front of the face here. So you probably want to soften that with a little bit of film across the front of the spot, or on my spots I've got little socks that fit over the front, and they're made from heat resistant material. Now this is a classic sort of beauty lighting, Hollywood 1930s, 1950s type of look. Now this one is quite complex because you can see this a lot. I don't think the light ratio on the front of the face is quite right on this one. I think I could probably have turned that light down a tiny bit, but let me show you the lighting for this because this is quite a complex setup. So what I'm going to have to do, again, I'm going to have to turn the background off. Because what we've got here is, let's start with our main light. So our main light here is we've got a gridded deflector shining into the subject's face, which is creating that little hot spot. Then we've got another spot going down here, so another deflector spotlight with a grid shining into this side of the subject to create some light on the clothes. And then this one coming in, and I flagged this, and the reason I flagged this is because if I don't, the feet are going to show up because they're sticking up in the background. I'll show you that in a minute. But what the real trick with this one was the snoot. It's getting the snoot into the chest area and adding a little bit of light. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to bring this up like this, and let me bring the background back in. Okay, so we've got our background in, we've got a light on the face. Now, let's just turn some of these reflectors off and see what happens as we build it up. This is the snoot, and I'm lighting up the front of the chest here. Then we've got the light going on the subject's face here. But if I turn this accent tube off, look what happens to the light on the chest. It completely and utterly disappears. So on this one here, I've got that light. I'm actually going to take that down a little bit, ease that off for you. In fact, I'm going to take it down a little bit more. That's it. Okay, so we've just eased that off a little bit more. Now, let's bring in, this is a light on the right-hand side. Let me just bring in this other reflector now, and that's going to create a rim over here. So we brought that other light in, but you notice how the feet are now very, very dominant in the background. That's why we needed a light blocker. So by putting that light blocker in there, we've stopped the light shining on the feet, but we've also made sure it hasn't affected the light falling on the subject. So as you can see, that's sort of classic Hollywood lighting look. You're going to see that in the 40s and 50s, and a lot of people are replicating this at the moment. So it's very, very popular. The key thing is the spot, but then providing some fill and making sure you've got rim in there to actually put some texture in the side. So really interesting stuff. Have a look at the PDF. If you've got the lights, have a play with this one. It's a little bit tough on the model because you've got the light shining full into the face, but have a play with this one if you get the chance, and also go online and have a look at some different variations of this. It's really, really, really interesting.